Talk live from the NIRSA Annual Conference in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm David Peters from Florida State University, joined as always by Marty Dempsey from the University of Florida. We are glad to be here today to bring you all the information about this series, talk to some great professionals who work with us here on the series, and catch you up on the sports that are going on and the things that are happening this year and years past as well, and going forward too. So we look forward to that. Over the next about 45 minutes or so, you know, Marty, this is the first time ever that we've had some sort of live broadcast. I think we're going to go with that. So live streaming from the NIRSA Conference, we're setting the stage right here in the series. We're thinking future forward, so we're all about it. So, but let's get going, right? Let's talk about what we're going to do and we're going to talk about, and we're going to start with the rundown. You might have seen this on some of those shows on ESPN. We're not going to yell at each other like that, but we will cover some important things, including, first on the docket there, a farewell to Pensacola, because after 39 years in Pensacola, they're done with tournaments. And so we got a couple of UWF folks back there. They are just sitting back and relaxing now. They're very excited about that. But they've done a great job, Marty, over those years. In fact, the last 6 as a NIRSA Series championship host.
Yeah, absolutely. And this year, soggy conditions leading up, great weather throughout the tournament, but that experienced staff really helped out in making sure that the field conditions were up to par for our students. We really took a look at some of the assessment results from that. You know, winning was important to our participants, no doubt about that. That's why they were there to it. But they also stated in the assessment that the experience of it was really important to them as well.
Absolutely, and you can see we have a clock on here, so you're going to see that it's not a hard ding. In fact, it's very, very calming and peaceful. It's chimes, right? Is that what you found? You see, he searched dings on the internet. This is what he got. So, it feels like Disney World. But moving on, as we go on to that finals on YouTube, and one of the things that we did there was broadcast the finals that we had for several years. So thanks to UWF for bringing our crew in, so that we can bring that excitement to different people across the country, and they can see those teams in the finals. 66 actual staff members in all, including 50 officials. In addition, 50 officials were there. So a lot of folks putting on that tournament for sure. Bradley Petty, one of those who has retired as our director of officials, but we know Dr. Bradley Petty, a key part of the series in flag football for many years. So certainly a great send-off for him, and we had some great words that were shared at the tournament too.
Yeah, absolutely. Look forward to welcoming in the next assistant director of officials. That will be applications available for that later this spring. So stay tuned for that announcement to get involved in that part of the series. We had some great finals. UNT, UF, and UT-RGV taking home our 3 championships in our co-rec women's and men's divisions. We also honored our 10 All-Americans. The staff development is just so important to our teams, to our participants. That officials' education is such a key component of the series.
Over 3,000 people put up with us in those broadcasts on YouTube, so we're reaching folks, and we're glad that we can share what's happening in flag football in that manner. Of course, regionals led up to that. We had 10 different host sites this year, 285 different teams participating in our regional events earlier this year.
Yeah, and if you're interested in hosting our 2019 event, people that have hosted in the past, they've talked about how many transferable skills they get from it, the leadership opportunities, not only from our professional staff and our graduate assistants, but our undergraduate students as well. So if you are interested in being a host for the 2019 series, those applications are already available online. Talk to Gerard Davis. He is the flag football work team chair, or any of us here on the executive team.
Well, and part of that is the unified sports, and we've had 6 tournaments this year who had that division on their campus as part of regional. So of course we encourage all of our regionals to consider that opportunity, and we hope that will continue this year.
Yeah, we see that. That's such a big part of our annual conference here this year, with Tim Schreiber being the opening speaker for us. So a big part of it, we want to increase that impact of unified sports.
Oh, this is time for the weather update. So let's talk about the weather, because it was a tough one out at soccer. We maybe don't want to think about that, but boy, was it wet out there this year. We tried to play through some storms, but we've also continued that so we can get some champions, because we rained out the final day. So Marty, talk about what we've done since to get some champions crowned.
Yeah, it was really important for us that we were able to get those champions crowned. So as soon as the tournament went offline, big shout out to Laura, to Val, to Nicole Jackson with NIRSA headquarters. They worked tirelessly to make sure that they found opportunities for our champions. So the men's championship, if you haven't seen the YouTube video, Yes, it was the Gators, Dave.
Yeah,
but it was a great end to that for our men's championship. UF over UNC Chapel Hill at UNC Charlotte. Big shout out to them for hosting that. Our women's finals are coming up. We have 4 teams left in the semis with Illinois, Ohio State, UC Davis, and Clemson. They're going to be playing in Nashville. Our women's open divisions feature San Diego State versus USC. They're going to be playing at UC Irvine. And Utah Valley and UCLA, they're going to be crowned co-champions of our men's open division for soccer.
And the future of soccer includes where we are headed. It was a wet year at Foley, but it's been a great host site. But for us, we're moving out to Texas as we go to Round Rock for soccer as well. So you may know that we're going to Round Rock for flag football. We're just going to go a few weeks earlier and go out there for the National Soccer Tournament too. A great facility. We're very excited to be going there twice in the next couple of months.
You know, that's not the only thing that we're doing with soccer, though. The 7v7 league for the spring is really starting to take off, and that's again through Laura's leadership. Last year was our first inaugural tournament in 2018. That was really born out of getting more student officials involved within soccer. So they've got the mentorship program as part of the national tournament, but now these spring tournaments are being officiated all by student officials. Illinois Champaign already set to host this year, April 12th through the 14th in Region 3. I know there's been some great conversations about a Region 2 tournament that's been had right here at the annual conference, an announcement to come following that. And we're hoping that other regions follow suit there.
Hey, shifting gears over to basketball. I'm waiting for that graphic. I think the jingle happens first. There it is. All right. So let's talk a little bit about basketball. Certainly a 3-year run at Ohio State concluded last year thanks to the team there at Ohio State for their work. 98 teams last year and some quality championship games too.
Yeah, our women's IM champions was Grand Canyon University. The club champions from UNC Chapel Hill. Really great multiple sports for UNC there. Men's IM champions from North Carolina A&T. Our club champions from Texas A&M University. And our unified champions from the University of Toronto.
Yeah, absolutely. And so after we've gone to Columbus, we're headed to Wichita, Kansas for this year, coming up in just a couple of weeks in mid-April.
Yeah, some outstanding new leadership joining that team. The new assistant directors have been selected. They're already working hard on that tournament. Natasha Harris is for the officials committee. Brooke Cochran joining the all-tournament committee. Alex Horn with the media staff. Greg Durham, the Assistant Director of Competition, and Abby Van Note is now the Assistant Director of Unified Sports.
Of course, to get to the Nationals, we've got to talk about some regionals, and they are coming up. 13 total regional tournaments in basketball this year. They start here at the beginning of March.
Yeah, as our club leagues have really grown, and we're going to get to that in just a second. Our club teams are supporting the regionals. Every club team that participated in our league last year went to an IM regional on top of their club schedule, so we're certainly having that. The officials development piece, again, is such a huge part of the basketball regionals, so many different opportunities for our officials and our staff members to get involved in that piece of the support, but this is also a call out for support from our schools. This doesn't happen without participants there. So we need to start thinking about these regional and national tournaments as opportunity, not just going to a tournament to play and to win, but the skills that they get from it. We're going to get to a video a little bit later for that, but showing our directors that just as much as this annual conference increases those leadership skills, so do these tournaments in so many different cool ways.
Well, and talking about club basketball, 24 teams last year, we have doubled it already this year to over 50. So doing some great work on the club basketball side, and official development as well as part of that club basketball model.
Yeah, the club teams, again, they are supportive of the regional structure as well, so they play their league games outside of that, so you actually have more hosts for basketball than just the 13 that you saw on the board. And we do have a competitor in basketball, so, you know, it's been really nice to see that double, you know, just happening overnight there, what feels like that. But the NCBBA is out there, and I think the main differences for us is our schools get a chance to host, which again provides those opportunities, but also we are focused on the officials development piece instead of just hiring, you know, a local high school association. We are excited to announce that the fact that we are going to have a regional coordinator structure coming, kind of mimicking what we already do in soccer when it comes to those regional tournaments for the national side. We're committed to that. That is something that you'll hear much more information on in the dates to come.
Hey, tennis is the other sport that's headed up this spring, and we have the national tournament headed out with our partnership with USTA to surprise Arizona. Been there before, headed back again to the Desert Southwest. We look forward to that event coming up in mid-April as well. It's April 11th through the 13th. Ohio State will be the returning champion there. They beat UNC Chapel Hill, so the Turtles might have lost. They're in every final, it feels like. They won it against Ohio State last year.
Shout out to some members that had a chance to work it last year. Gary Kay and Valerie McCutcheon, Brooke Turner, and Dave Peters all worked the event last year. We're also taking a look at some opportunities to officiate in tennis. So we're going to be, you'll see some stuff in basketball this year. We're going to ask our officials from there, are they interested in officiating in tennis? So more stuff with assessment coming up there.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about some of our brand management in the series. You can see some numbers here on the screen for our many hashtags and things on Twitter, on Instagram, our Snapchat filters. We, of course, get peaks when we have tournaments, so that makes total sense. But a lot going on, and we appreciate the leadership that we have moving the brand forward.
You know, we are also, from a brand management standpoint, we want our regionals to be able to use this as well as a way just to connect people to the series, get them involved in that. One of the things from Series 2.0 that we're going to talk about here is that the tagline now is that we are experiential learning through sport. And how do we incorporate that on a daily basis through our brand management team? So that's going to be something that they're really looking at this summer. When you think about that phrase again, experiential learning through sport, everybody here in this room, you all back that, you preach that all the time. How do we make that bigger than just the folks here in this room for our stakeholders on campus and our participants and what they're getting out of it?
Yeah, great way for us to continue to get our brand out there, but also just to show the excitement that we have from our series events. Standards update, because they're certainly a big part of kind of the back end of what we're doing in the series, making sure that we are compliant and that eligibility works, and it's a key part of making things happen. It's kind of the back end of making the series function.
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. But hey, how about first we talk a little bit about assessment?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I totally skip over?
No, that's okay.
All right, well, I got you. You know what? Standards is important too. Go.
So, you know, with assessment this year, we're really focusing on the qualitative stuff. The quantitative stuff, it's saying the same thing we've seen in past sessions just like this. Most of our people, over 75%, are saying that they either agree or highly agree with the fact that they enjoyed themselves at our tournaments. But now it's more about than just that satisfaction. It's, again, telling our story, reaching that impact forward. You're going to see a video here in a little bit about some of the work that we've done with that this past fall.
You know, Marty, I don't know if you've heard, but standards is the backbone of what we do in the series. And, very important that we have them. But yeah, we have made some progress this year, certainly with compliance and eligibility. I've set you up for that now. Standards go.
You got it. So with our standards team, you know, for those that don't know, they have to work with our registrar office. They work with NCAA compliance. They do conduct their own research to really try to make sure that they have informed, consistent decisions across the board when it comes to keeping our standards there. Some other things that they're looking at right now is there's going to be a new formalized appeals form that's going to be available on the NIRSA website. So just to, you know, really streamline some of that communication, get all the information that we need, get all the supporting documentation for it. They're also starting to develop some strategies because most of their appeals come around the national tournament, but how can our regionals treat those? Because we know that those generally happen on Saturday night, semifinals. How do we make sure that we make those consistent decisions at each and every regional?
Well, they're all about the documentation and the process. We appreciate them working on that. As we head into professional development, over 260 staff applications in this past year for basketball and flag football, over 300 officials applications. So we're glad to have so many, not just students, but members be interested in being engaged in the series. How do we continue to make sure that everyone has an opportunity?
Ariane's group has just been tremendous this semester. They have been working on a communication plan with regional hosts to make sure, again, we streamline that. Because we have so many people involved in the series that if you're hosting, are you getting information from 6 different people? Or are you getting it from one source? So they're really taking a look at that. They're creating checklists for before, during, and after to really help that. The information available from our past fall tournaments is just so much easier to find now than some of the tournaments in the past, and it's all credit to Ariane. But as you mentioned, one of the big things that they're looking at is how do we keep those involved that are not selected from that. A startling thing that we found that in a 6-year study of the Flag Football Nationals, 70% of people that were denied for their first time did not come back to apply again. So it's a huge turnover rate that we're getting. We're looking into reasons why for that.
Absolutely. We want those folks to apply again. That's the goal, is that we hopefully we'll get them in the next go-around. Hey, the Series 2.0 Task Force met last summer. Hopefully you have caught up on that since then. And these are some of the different purposes, promise, priorities that we have. And the first one is operational success. How do we make sure that we can continue moving forward in a positive manner?
You know, some of the things that we've done since last June is really taking a look at that's so broad, right? Operational success. But some of the things that we've done to move the needle forward with that is creating a proposal form that's going out online for us. So many of you have had different ideas. Some of you sent questions in last summer that we've gotten to in some of the different series talk podcasts or talking with you individually. But now we're having this standard proposal form. If you've got an idea for the series, we want to hear from you. Because a lot of times, Dave, we don't go to as many tournaments anymore. So, you know, we want to hear some of those ideas. So that's one of the ways that has moved forward.
One of those other pillars in the long-term vision for the series is participant experience. And certainly our tournaments don't exist without participants and without those teams there. How do we make sure that they're enjoying themselves, having a good time, coming and paying the money that they are to participate with us? And so the task force is working on that. We did a soccer selection show this year that we revealed the open division draw, which was just something new and exciting, but it got them engaged earlier in the process.
Several thousand people viewed that on YouTube. It was fun. We did a studio show. Chris McAlpine provided some great analysis for that. So just trying to, again, increase some of that experience even before they show up. But when they do show up, they want to play some games, and that's what happened in flag football this year. Is we got everybody had an opportunity to play an extra game. So everybody was guaranteed 3 games this year at flag football, as opposed to where it was 2 in past years. If you didn't make the playoffs, then you were. So there was a new consolation bracket. I think it still needs some feeling out for that, but it's certainly a huge step forward. A huge thank you again to UWF for allowing us to pull that one off.
Yeah, and again, working on that participant experience, we encourage you to have some feedback on that as we try to make that better at all levels, not just the national tournament. Educating members is next. How do we make sure that the members in this room and not in this room are ready for their series opportunities, whether that's through volunteering at a tournament or being part of a work team or a committee? How can we better prepare our members for that? We've got some great ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that's been talked about this week and even going back all the way to Series 2.0 is the idea of the Series Academy that can help train. I mentioned that 70% of people that get rejected their first time are not coming back to apply again for these national tournaments, at least on the flag football side. So how do we help them with that? How do we keep them engaged? And so you're hearing it here for the first time for Phoenix 2020. We are planning on putting a pre-conference proposal in. Dave, I hear we know somebody that is on the program committee for that.
See what we can do.
So the idea is that we put something out there to really help showcase some of those leadership skills and actually keep a lot of you that have been veterans of this. We want your help in helping putting those things on as an additional opportunity for our leadership staff.
The clock has run out as we move into our next segment, and so we have some technology here. Usually we just throw to commercial, but that doesn't exist. So for right now, you're going to get to see some of the back end as we talk about what is next, and that certainly is some of that participant experience, but also telling our story. And so over the past year, we have taken some raw video just out at our tournaments and wanted to share some of that with you with regards to what our participants are saying about their experience.
Yeah, so our last of those 4 strategic priorities, potentially our most important. Communicating the impact of involvement. It's not enough for us to just say that we have this many teams and this many participants. What are they getting from those experiences? Proving that worth to folks. So, and you know what happens with that is you're not going to see anything in this video that I think any one of us would have already mentioned that. But it matters to hear it directly from the mouths of our participants. And that's what we did this past year, was went out there, interviewed some of them, we put together some clips. So hopefully from this, we hope to do more with this. Put together some videos actually made by NIRSA to actually be able to put in front of our stakeholders, our directors, people that may not have that support. Hey, I can't, we hear all the time, I don't have the budget to send some folks. Well, and certainly that may be true in some areas, but we certainly put together some resources to get people here at regional and national conferences and all things like that. We want to make sure that in that same bucket, in that same funnel, is regional and national opportunities, because we feel like you get some of the same leadership opportunities as you do for being up on stage here at a regional or national event. So take a look at some of this video.
Getting on the pitch, and I feel like each game is a battle. Every team that comes here comes down to win. So being around all these players from all over the country that are equal with us and competitive, and used to see all the time we're talking about the girls on the job. We see competition at school. We get really down, and do better on it. And then I like to get forward to it. So that's you discover my passion for sports.
With people that kind of have a similar background as us. We're all athletes. We all, play at our respective universities, and it's nice to be able to come together and kind of similar atmosphere to one another.
Usually a lot of times maybe one other people from different areas.
I think that helping out not only with other relationships I made and all the friends that I get to see at practice, and especially like a hard day practice, it was fun to go out to practice with my ladies.
reaching out early and asking what we do, and then how we get myself to leadership.
I've learned a lot from it. I've always had coaches tell me where to go, where to be. Now in this tournament, I'm telling everyone where to go, where to be, when to be there. So I've learned to grow up a little bit and make sure everybody's there on time.
There it is. We are excited about those people sharing their experiences with us, and we're continuing to do that. And I also want to hear from your experiences so we can balance with our participants with our volunteers. Hey, we've got some key volunteers up here on the stage. We've got a big panel, so we're excited about some people who have given a lot of their time to help us shape this series and wanted to invite these wonderful folks up. So joining us on the stage, Marty Shark Williams from Notre Dame, right on the far side there. Yeah, rounds of applause are absolutely appropriate. Laura Thomas, University of Alabama, is right here. And he's the current chair of this series, Mr. Randall Ford from UT Austin. We're glad to have him here to kind of talk about what they have done or what their role is now with the series. And so we wanted to start with Shark because not only are you a key part of the series, but you're part of the NIRSA Services Corporation, which that part houses the series. So can you tell about the relationship that we have between that board and the series?
Yes, sir. So the NSC, just like other NIRSA boards, provides oversight and a lot of support to the series. It also is a circumstance where we're able to provide some protections, in a sense, from legal, also from an income tax kind of circumstance. We're the board that we're able, because NIRSA is a non-for-profit organization, we're able to accept funds, make sure that there's no liability connected to either the series or the association, and I think that's one of the keys. But the other big key is all the support we have. We just came, Randall and I just came from a meeting where we were talking with Riddle and Bloom, and those are our marketing partners, and we're talking about how to get activations up, how to look for sponsorships, how to make sure we can enhance the series as much as possible. So the NSC is very, very much vested in the Series 2.0.
Well, it's great to have that support from the NSC board. One of the things that we worked on this year with their support was Series 2.0. That task force that got put together and really came forward with a number of priorities. And I wanted to ask Randall, if you don't mind, what you've seen after the, I guess, last 8 or 9 months when that task force met in Atlanta back in June. What's the progress look like?
Dave, you said we were going to do a lip sync battle up here, and that's not what I have my song.
I'm not ready. So.
In all seriousness, thanks, Dave. Yeah, Series 2.0, the task force. I think the thought when the idea came forward was, our tournaments are really a pretty good place right now. I think we have operationally, we obviously need to continue to improve those, but the path forward. The series was about 12 years old. We started from scratch, and we established a bunch of different things that were working for us. But where was the future going? And I think 3 of the 4 priorities, in my opinion, don't really deal directly with the tournaments themselves. I mean, I think, educating our members, defining what success looks like and telling our story are extremely important. I mean, the people in this room, this is the series, kind of the championship series army, if you will. You guys in the room, you guys all get why we do these tournaments, right? You do that, right? Some heads did nod. They will never talk. So for me, I mean, connecting the NIRSA, the new strategic priorities for NIRSA to what the series does. Like I said, education. These tournaments are a platform for leadership development, for work teams, for that kind of leadership, and also leading on up through what could be, there are future leaders of the association in this room, and those leaders are coming from the championship series. So I think my message about Series 2.0 and those priorities is more about connecting those things outside of the tournaments. Don't take for granted the tournaments will always be there. I mean, I think we all believe, you show up and we have these great events, right? And I think some might take that for granted. We're always going to have these tournaments, right? Well, I would say that we need to continue to work, and hopefully Series 2.0, those priorities, give us some framework outside of the competition that will connect us to NIRSA's overall priorities.
Well, and you talked about leadership development, so I want to ask Laura Thomas here, who has just been going through the series in all kinds of ways, but been a leader with us. So, Laura, can you talk a little bit about that experience you've had in growing in the series, particularly soccer among other things, but how does that work for you?
Sure. Well, I got involved, like many of you in the room got involved by volunteering in a tournament, but I also heard through the grapevine that there were ongoing opportunities to volunteer. And my vehicle or my platform was soccer, but for many of you that's like football or basketball or student development. And so I was able to take a leadership role in the league commissioning, and that is basically the yearly season. Soccer is one of the unique sports that we manage the leagues as well. And so we're always looking for volunteers to be those divisional coordinators or regional coordinators to help us schedule the leagues and manage forfeits, manage defaults, all of that stuff for soccer. It's a great way to be involved outside of those tournaments. And so I was able to connect with a lot of professionals across soccer and meet people and get more involved in the national soccer as well. So that was my vehicle, but I know that a lot of people, it looks differently. But for those of you in the room that are not well informed with soccer stuff, please come and holler at me if you're looking for some ongoing opportunities, because there are some, and we're always looking for young professionals that want to get involved. If you love soccer or if you don't know anything about soccer, we're welcome to all volunteers. So.
All right, I want to throw this question out to anyone who wants to answer it, but certainly we have some seasoned pros up here, and so some of that is how do we as seasoned professionals continue to contribute to the series, because often we think, I can't wait to go to a tournament for a regional, and we have a lot of new professionals who are jumping in on that opportunity. So as seasoned professionals, how do you contribute? In addition to all these things you're already doing. So.
Sure, do you want, I'm happy to answer it, but.
I'll be quick since I'm the most seasoned. I think it's a lot of us is support and teaching as much as we can, but it's support. In my position now, I'm unable to come to a lot of tournaments. I met so many of my friends that are out here now. I remember some of these people who were in knickers calling flag football in New Orleans, okay? But now my goal is to try to help and support. You don't need an old person like me at a tournament, but you need staff that I have or other people that I've connected with. So I think that that's a big role that I think that we can play.
I also want I think that it's important to not question whether or not you're qualified for a position. I think that a lot of people that I talk to, whether it's a series or whether it's a conference committee or any type of service in NIRSA, they're like, well, I've only been on the work team for a year, I wouldn't be qualified for chair, or I don't really know anything about soccer. But I don't think that we should make excuses, I think we should take action. And so I'm challenging you all, whatever the platform y'all want to choose, please do get more involved. There's plenty of opportunities.
I think you have to piggyback what Marty talked about earlier, our goal to have a pre-conference workshop approved for next year's annual conference day.
We're working on it.
That's important. But for our real veterans in the series, I'm talking about the people that have been 10, 15, 20 plus years. I see Kurt Clear. I will call Kurt out as an example of one who's given many years of service in the flag football area. One of our ongoing goals is to get more new people involved in our tournaments. And that some might think, well, that's going to leave me out of the tournaments, right? And there's some trepidation of not being able to go. Well, we hope that this educational piece, this pre-conference and other things that we hope to come will allow our veterans to teach these things or provide the information for our younger professionals so they'll be better prepared for work teams and to work at tournaments.
So a lot of great opportunities. Let's give a round of applause to this panel of folks who come up here. Thank you. As we get ready to transition again, this is the time for the stretch break, so we're going to put the camera on you because we have two up here, so hopefully you did your hair and you're ready to go. We're going to have some stands and some claps for those of you who volunteered this year, because as we mentioned, many of you are the ones that are at those different events. So if you're if you're leading one of our work team as a work team chair, will you please either stand or wave to be recognized? There you go, waving, standing, there they are. Please remain standing with other people who are on work teams. If you're one of our work team folks who's not just a chair but part of them, come on up. Thank you very much for your service this year to the series. Our events don't happen without some great host schools. You may sit. We will sit our work teams down and have our host schools. Please stand if you're representing a host school. Please stand to be recognized. Thank you. We're putting on great tournaments and events this past year. Finally, while you're still standing, if you went to a tournament to work at one of these places or many others, please stand and join them. Yes, thank you. This is the volunteerism of the series. Thank you so much for helping us out. We want to take a quick moment as we bring up our next group, so I'm going to step down as they step up here and get seated to recognize Howard Taylor. He was our Seraphin Distinguished Service Award winner. Round of applause for Howard. Has also retired, so good for him. He's grabbing an award as he is going into retirement to play more golf, but worked for many years with our series in soccer in particular, and hopefully launched that many years ago. We celebrated 25 years with NIRSA Soccer just this past year. So it is going strong thanks to much of Howard's leadership at the start. Also, we've had Marty, Scott Flickinger. These two have been part of our chair team this year. Round of applause for them. As I mentioned, Randall Ford was with us this year. He was filling in for Seraphin and came on and was great series leader for us. So thank you to Randall for his work as he rolls off. I'm happy to announce that on stage right now is your next part of the series executive team, and that's Ashley Lack. She's joining us as our second vice chair coming up next year. So congratulations to Ashley. And Marty will lead us on with more discussion of the next issues. Marty. Ready? Make it happen.
All right, folks. Well, welcome. We have another panel up here. In this panel, we're going to focus a little bit more on the individual sports within the series and some of the current initiatives there. So up here on stage with me, I have Scott Flickinger from Cornell University and the current first vice chair. I have Ashley Lax from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, the incoming second vice chair, and she is also working as the director this year of our officials program at the National Basketball Tournament. And then Drew Cantwell from LSU. He is currently the club basketball work team chair. So welcome to all three of you. Thank you for joining us here on stage. Drew, the first question is for you. I know there's a lot of excitement around club basketball this year as we have gone from 24 to over 50 teams. So what does that excitement look like for you and your work team?
It's a lot of work. But like I said, last year having the same conversation, the success of club basketball really rides on the people that are sitting in this room. You're getting an email from me, 6 months in advance, a month in advance now for some of these hosts, asking you to help out. And it's a lot different than hosting a normal regional tournament because you do have 10, 20, 30 NIRSA professionals coming in, but to come and help and run these things. But I've had the opportunity now to host this tournament 3 years in a row, and the development that provided my staff, and then we weren't always in the spot in Louisiana to be able to host because we were kind of butted up against Mississippi and Texas, and they're both hosting their own tournaments and stuff like that. So it gives us the opportunity to be able to do at the regional level, or seeing what that would typically look like at a regional tournament, being able to bring teams in and do that. So if this is something that you're interested in and you are in an ideal location, you probably already received an email from me. But if you transfer somewhere or go somewhere else, and you're seeing this on the NIRSA website, and you're seeing these teams that are on the West Coast, and our Women's West is a brand new division. This is their first time in it. And you get an email from me asking to help, I will guide you through the process and do my best. A lot of times it's between 4 and 6 teams. We really only need 2 of the courts, and we can definitely help and put you in a position to be successful on your campus, to hopefully one day build yourself up to be able to host something more, be involved in more at the regional level, but definitely help out the club basketball division, especially if you have a team playing with that. And if you don't, once again, it's a great opportunity to be able to assist.
We talk about the NCBBAs, out there as a competition for our leagues there. Why should folks continue? Because we have folks out there that do have teams within the NCBBA. Some of them that want to join both leagues. So what is it that we're offering as a NIRSA Championship Regional as that governing body for basketball?
Absolutely. So once again, ours is student-led. There are student officials that are operating these tournaments. That is not the case for the NCCBA. That is outside officiating groups that are coming in and handling these tournaments, these games. We're offering a quality of product that we think may be a little bit better than what they have as far as quality of facilities. We're bringing the teams to the one host location and providing what we would believe is a top-tier service to our students and their teams over from what we've seen and what we've heard from experiences that the NCCBA has been doing. So.
And that staff development, again, such a huge piece of the series. We all know that as stakeholders of that. And Ashley, this next one's for you. As somebody that is leading that group at the national tournament this year, what are you most looking forward to in terms of the officiating program for our students at nationals?
So I'm in my final year of working with the national tournament for officials specifically, and I think the thing I'm most excited about is seeing the variety that we've tried to include in the last 3 years. We don't want to just produce the same program over and over again, and we are partial to thinking that it's a really good program, that we have a lot of professionals that have spent years investing into the resources and the thought behind what the clinic structure looks like and a lot of the topics that we discuss. But at the end of the day, we want to keep evolving and getting better and addressing the current needs of students in terms of development. And so I think that's what I'm most excited about, is the advances that we've had in technology already and where that's going to continue to take our officials development, whether it's the expansion of Zoom and some of the instant feedback that video technology is allowing us to pursue, or just something as simple as soon as that eval is submitted by the clinician, it's emailed to the official. They have it in their email. They can review and say, this is what they meant by my positioning wasn't very good, right? And so they can continue to evolve through the tournament, and they're not getting those all at the end and then not having an ability to work on those throughout. So I think that's one of the most exciting parts, is that technology and how it continues to evolve, but also just seeing the variety of expertise that our professionals are starting to bring when they're serving on the officials committee at nationals. That's the part that I'm most excited about, is the professionals here are continuing to strive to make themselves better, and then they're contributing that back to nationals. So whether you are the best high school expert out there, or you have advanced your career into college or even the professional leagues, there are abilities for you to contribute no matter what, and we value you as an expert no matter what level you're currently officiating at.
Absolutely. So Ashley, one of the areas that I know we're still getting a lot of applications for is for our officials applications for our tournament staffing there. So take us a little bit behind the curtain there, and how, what are some things that matter when selecting a staff of great clinicians that you're going to have this year at Wichita?
So it's almost scientific, but not really, I promise. There's a lot of criteria that we look at. Obviously, experience both in what you do officiating on and off campus, and then also what you're doing to volunteer at regional tournaments. Those things play a part in us considering where you fit on the national staff, but we also consider a variety of other things. We can't just bring a bunch of college basketball officials on staff, because then we have no high school experts, and we still at the national level follow NFHS high school rules. I forget high school rules a lot because I have not worked high school, and so we have to bring those resources in, otherwise we're providing a disservice to our students. So we have to balance where everyone is in their officials development and what they're bringing to staff. We also look at regional representation. We can't take 15 of our 20 staff from Region 2, but that's where we have a majority of our applications coming from. We had one total applicant from the Region 6 area. That makes it hard for us to provide variety on the Region 6 side of things, but again, we have to balance and consider all of those things to select the staff. From there, I think it's the level of expertise. We have 6 returners out of 20 this year, and so trying to make sure that we get new blood on staff and that we're seeing new ideas, that's super important. And so it's not just, oh, you've been a part of nationals for the last 5 years, you're going to automatically come onto staff again. I think we're very critical into considering all of those things to make sure we're spreading out opportunities, but still providing that top-notch service to the national staff.
Well, switching sports a little bit to our flag football. Flag football has been a sport many of us are so passionate for it. I know I got my start in the series within flag football, as many out in the room had as well. It's been a sport that even on our campuses has really challenged us. And nationwide trends of sport of that going down, the regional levels, we've had kind of up and downs over the years. So, Scott, we've taken a look at that from a global range. What are some things that we can look forward to as far as initiatives go in terms of flag football?
That's a good question, Wilbon, and I really appreciate the job you and Kornheiser are doing right now. So that's a very good question, and you touched on a lot of things in terms of the challenges we're seeing, particularly with flag football, not just on our particular campuses and our institutions, but nationwide as well. So what has developed out of this is we are announcing now a task force that has been put together for flag football. This task force is headed by Gerard Davis, who is the work team chair for flag football, and this incorporates a couple of quite a few different individuals that are separate from the flag football work team to take a look at the national trend of flag football and to see where it is trending, why it is trending the way it is trending. We'll make it no secret that, particularly in the past few years, numbers are down from the flag football regionals and nationals, particularly with Region 3. I know that Region 3 has not hosted a regional this past year. In the past 2 years, the Region 3 flag football regional was canceled due to lack of numbers. So we have to take a good look at that, take a critical eye to that, and see what are the reasons or what are the barriers that are in place keeping teams from signing up for our regional tournaments? Is it financial? Is it institutional support? Is it travel? Is it just a sport that is trending in one way or the other? So that's what this task force is doing. They're taking a look at those things. They're going to say, hey, what is the reason why flag football is not trending upwards? What can we do on our end to see numbers rise, if those numbers can rise? And what can we do in other places that maybe could help influence those numbers to rise at other institutions?
And so big summer here of flag football. We're actually also going to be looking into whether a club program is viable for that league as well, as we know that as that has grown in basketball, that has really helped keep our numbers up, and that is trending upwards at the national tournament. So how do we support that within flag football? Scott, there's a lot of other things that we're going to be looking forward to this summer. We got a brand new group of work team chairs. We'll have a summit later with all the NIRSA leadership team. What are some things that you're really looking forward to this summer in terms of our next action plans for the series?
So like you had said, we're really looking forward to this summit, to bringing together all the work team chairs and to talk about NIRSA, to talk about the Championship Series 2.0, and to look at what we need to do moving forward. So this first year, we had a lot of growth, and while the growth was maybe not as quick as we would like it to be, it is still growth. And now we're taking a look at what we need to do to push that growth and to move it forward in terms of participant experience, in terms of making sure that professionals get equal opportunity to go and participate in our championship series, not just at regional events, but also within work teams and within club programs such as club basketball, looking at things like we had already discussed, a regional coordinator model for club basketball, and to move, as it's been coined before, move that needle forward even further so that we can see upward trends, and to make sure that everybody within NIRSA sees that the value of the championship series is that we provide professional development opportunities, not just for individuals that participate as volunteers, but for our participants themselves. And we want to make sure that story is told.
My last question for any one of the three of you, because you've all served as work team chairs in the past. What are some of those things for some of those that are in the crowd or watching live here on YouTube? You know, what if they're thinking about applying for a leadership position within the series? What are some things that they're going to get out of it personally that they can take home with them, put in their toolbox?
I think my experiences lent itself to developing a lot of organization skills, obviously leadership. Leading someone through a conference call where you have no idea if they're even paying attention, and the crickets on the response on the other end, and then like trying to gauge from that whether that's a good idea or not, that's a lot of development, and trying to engage those members and getting them to buy into the charges that you're handed and then being able to execute at a very high level. A lot of transferable skills that came out of that. I think most importantly, I learned like how to balance, right? We have jobs back on campus that we are accountable for, but then also all the exciting opportunities we want to take advantage of, whether it's through the championship series or other NIRSA avenues. And I think learning how to, as a young professional, balance all of those different things and come out on the other end successfully, that makes me feel very optimistic for moving up the chain and taking on more responsibilities. I have been privileged to get a third coordinator this year, adding more supervision. That's going to be something that the skills I've learned through my work team chair position, I'm going to be able to directly apply on a daily basis.
Well, thank you so much. Let's hear it again for our panel. And as we kick it back over to David, it's time for the big finish.
Yeah, we're going to wrap up the video portion of this with the big finish, and then have a few more minutes for additional questions from our audience, as we have some for our leaders up here. So let's do the big finish. Which is just me. I'm sorry. There's no connection with that, so that's absolutely fine. Hey, if anything we've talked about today, you're like, I can't wait to put my stamp on that and give my input, please know that work team applications are still open. They're open through next Monday. You can get on the NIRSA website and volunteer for those opportunities. Again, Monday, February 25th is the deadline for those. Basketball regionals are coming up in March. The national tournaments are the second weekend in April. That's basketball at Wichita and tennis out in Arizona. And we want to make sure we give special thanks to many people who we didn't mention earlier, including the person who's helped put this podcast together, and that's Keegan Ashby over here, because someone's got to make it happen. Behind the camera and behind the scenes, up at headquarters, is Val McCutcheon and Nicole Jackson. Thanks to Val. She is helping us keep us on track. So appreciate all of them. Marty, last thoughts?
Yeah, and also Corey Granholm from NIRSA, he's put together a lot of our graphics. He puts together the opening for us. He spends countless hours on Series Talk. He really enjoys working with us, so we hopefully continue to have him on payroll for us because he's a really important part to making sure that this becomes a reality for us in the future.
All right, well, let's sign off on the broadcast. For Marty Dempsey, I'm Dave Peters. Thanks for joining us today for Series Talk Live from Boston, Massachusetts.